Welcome to This Week in West Hempstead, sponsored by Giordano Garden and Nursery Center. Here's your host, David Kirshner, with a special guest.
Hi, I'm here this week with Andrew Brohm, who's the West Hempstead Fire Chief. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
It's a real pleasure to have you here. And first, I just want to say thank you for all your work and service as a resident of West Hempstead for basically just keeping us safe. Thank you.
Anytime. That's
Well,
what we're here for.
I appreciate it. And I haven't burnt anything this week. And, anyway, I had no cooking jokes. Let's just jump into it because, having a fireman here is like a real dream come true to me. And I think most kids, they kind of have, the dream of being a fireman, being a police officer, being a nurse, being a doctor. Was being a fireman always something that you wanted to do?
So it's actually more of like a family legacy item for me. I'm a third generation chief myself at this point, and I'm a fourth generation member of the department. So right now in the department, I have myself, my father, Kenny, my brother, Daniel, and my sister, Melissa, right now.
Do you have like your own unit, or is it, or you're actually integrated with the rest
No,
of
they haven't given us a van yet. I've asked, but nothing yet.
That's really amazing. So it's really a whole family that's dedicated towards civic service, in particular within the fire department.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be able to do it with them for sure.
Absolutely. Wow, that's really amazing. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it means to be a fire chief and sort of like what's a day in the life of that position.
Yeah, so just like everybody else in the fire department, I still have my own career path, my own job outside of the volunteer staff. It's really just an elevated level of responsibility, both administratively and from an actual firefighting standpoint. The amount of paperwork obviously piles up the higher you get through the ranks, like any job or any career. And really, the day-to-day is, you're going about your own normal career, and if you get a call, you have you're going to be the first one there. You're in a vehicle provided to you by the fire department after years of training and extensive, certifications and years of climbing the ranks from lieutenant to captain to chief to get to that point where now you're basically responsible to be the first one on scene to make decisions. No matter how big or small the call is, whether it's a sprained ankle or it's a house fire.
Yeah, you just got to jump in. You don't really know what's going to happen on the other side of things. And as far as the volunteers, is everyone who's part of is anyone in the fire department? Are you all volunteers? Is there anyone who's like full-time staff?
So we do have a small full-time staff. We have an office clerk who handles all the day-to-day paperwork for the Board of Fire Commissioners. Wonderful woman. She's basically she helps keep everything together. She's part of the glue there. Mm-hmm. We also have a district manager who is there every day, Monday to Friday, 7 to 3. He's the guy that when vendors come in to fix parts of the building, when the trucks have to go for service, when tools are broken, he's the guy that everybody's going to. So we're leaning on him as well. Same exact way we lean on the administrative staff. One of the most recent things that we did is we actually hired for the first time a full-time paramedic within the district. So we've hired somebody who works for the department 40 hours a week in a first responder car where whenever we get a rescue call, the paramedic is the first person to arrive on scene most of the time. Obviously, if a chief or the paramedic usually would be first one there. So they're providing instant ALS service Monday to Friday, somewhere between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., 40 hours in that block. And we did that to try to ensure that those hours when our volunteer staff is, teaching at a school, being a cop, being a fireman somewhere else, being, a correction officer, that we're able to provide that service to the community. So
amazing. And the difference between a paramedic and a firefighter, are the roles are different.
Yeah, so there's definitely some lines in the sand. Paramedics, EMTs are there for patient care. So when they arrive on scene, they have command of the patient care during that call for a rescue alarm. Firefighters are going to be trained at firefighting tactics like hose stretching, ladders, etc. And they would be the ones that are going to attack an interior house fire or a car fire, or if you had a gas leak, they would be the one that would be taking care of that kind of situation. Where a paramedic or an EMT would be, if you had an older family member that was sick, they would be the ones coming in to give care to that kind of person, take them to the hospital if necessary.
And who makes the decision between, which groups are going to be called?
So when you call either 911 or Firecom, which is our direct dispatcher, when you call them, you alert them on what kind of emergency you have. So if you tell them that it's a fire emergency, I have a toaster oven that is sparking in my kitchen. They're going to put out a call for us called a general alarm. A general alarm means everybody responds, and it's we're calling for a fire department activation per se. You're going to get a fire engine here, a ladder truck here, chiefs. You still may get an ambulance here, but it's going to be third or fourth due in that line of priorities. As opposed to if you called and said, I'm not feeling well, I really have chest pain, you're going to get an ambulance here first due. And that ambulance has to be staffed at all times based on New York State standards with either an EMT or a paramedic. So that's really, the initial call into dispatch is who's going to decide ultimately what you get at your house.
And when someone from West Hempstead is interested in volunteering and dedicating time to the fire department, what should he or she be looking to do as some first steps?
Yeah, so we obviously have an application process like anybody else. That application process is simple to get started. You can either email us. We have an we have a Facebook page. We have chiefs at westhempsteadfd.org, which would be where we receive any general inquiries from the public on that. And basically, if somebody just expresses interest, or if they stop up on a Sunday morning when we're doing the truck checks and the cleaning and everything like that, somebody can get an application. They can fill it out. We have a 2-month process to get into the department for any new members, which really just it really just contains us conducting an interview, which is much less of an interview as it is an introduction. It's us explaining what the fire department is, what's expected, how much work has to go into it, which, is sizable, and to make sure that, that person understands the commitment level when they get there.
And is the enrollment up, down? Are your ranks full, or do you need people to volunteer?
So we're not full by any means. I mean, we don't have a necessary ceiling. There's no necessary cap that we follow at this point. There was back in the day, but since, the way the world is today, our call volume has almost doubled over the last 20 years. So the more people, the easier the work, right? We are, as far as enrollment goes, though, we're up, especially in comparison to other districts around us. I would say since I've been a member now almost 15 years, we're at an all-time high. You want to go back to the 60s and 70s when everybody was working single jobs, working for the town, working for the county, working at their homes. It's a much different world. Maybe we're similar in aspect to where they were then, but as far as today's standards go, we're definitely ahead of the curve.
Are all the other fire departments in the surrounding areas like Lakeview, is everyone volunteers, or are there other full-time fire?
So I would say most fire departments have some kind of paid staff, whether they're clerical and building maintenance, or whether they're actual alarm response would be a question for them. But as far as the departments go, I would imagine most fire departments in Nassau County have some kind of building maintenance staff at this point.
So switching gears a little bit, we're kind of in a dry season right now. I mean, it's hot and dry, and the lawns are starting to get parched. Any concern about brush fires in a suburban area like West Hempstead?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and we're right here up against Hempstead State Lake Park, which is obviously a trigger point around here for dry brush. It happens, and it's going to happen. Ultimately, you just hope that it's contained, and typically regular watering every other day, some good practices. Hopefully, it prevents what you need to prevent.
And just for the summer, maybe you can give us some special guidelines or tips or some safety tips. What should we be looking out for now that people are out there enjoying, the hot barbecues and the pools and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the biggest thing over the summer by far, especially for us, just from experience over the last 10 to 15 years, is just dehydration, overheating, people overexerting, people that don't normally do stuff throughout the year that all of a sudden decide they're going to go and do a physical activity on the hottest day of the year. those are the people that you got to watch out for. And obviously, you're elderly. You want to make sure you're checking in on them during these temperatures, making sure the air conditioners are working for them.
It can throw in a couple of beers or alcohol on top of it, and not a good recipe. And I think we get a picture. 4th of July, it was loud. I mean, it was really loud around here. I'm sure it's like that in a lot of the communities, but in particular here, there was about 48 hours of a constant, firework volleys, if you will. I know my dog it hasn't been the same since. Were there any reported incidents relating to fireworks in West Hempstead?
Yes, no. So there's a little bit of a differentiation between police matters and fire department matters, of course. So I'm sure the police were pretty busy that night locally. They always are. They're good guys. But as far as we go, we didn't even respond to one alarm after 4 p.m. on the 4th of July.
Which is pretty amazing because it was like you could just walk outside and you see debris and it's like orange phosphorus and residue, and it's pretty amazing that no homes or anything had any issues.
No, yeah, I mean, I think we all saw the videos along all of our social media platforms of what was going on around Long Island, but ultimately in town, at least from my perspective and from the department's perspective, we were quiet. Thank God, right?
So around West Hempstead, we have these old alarm systems. I think there's one on Woodfield and School, and there's one and Chestnut, and then there's one by the Southern State. Do these things still work, and are they being tested?
So some of them used to be used as like one of the primary means of alerting for the membership to let them know that there are alarms. We still utilize the one on the roof of the firehouse now. There's an air horn that was actually refurbished and repaired a couple of years ago. That's great for when guys are outside mowing their lawn, doing stuff out, snow blowing in the winter.
Right.
It's pretty impressive what it can do in today's world of technology that we're still relying on an air horn, basically, like a siren raid. But as far as all the other ones around West Hempstead go, I can't speak to anything by the Southern State. We don't really cover that far down. But the ones that are in the West Hempstead district, we're actually in the process now of removing and getting them down. There was a discussion about whether it would be beneficial to repair them or to remove them. Because at the end of the day, them sitting on the poles not working does nobody any good.
So if there was a major emergency and cell towers were not working, you do have the means of kind of waking up the community that, with the siren. Is there just one steady siren, or it's...
No, so we have the ability to activate it manually ourselves. And Firecom, which is our dispatch provider out of Nassau County that's provided by the county to us, also has the ability to trigger those sirens at any time. So if there was some kind of emergency, some kind of issue where we needed to give, just a loud audible, even if it's just to get people out of their houses to give announcements out driving around town, we would be able to utilize it if we needed to.
And the from an emergency perspective, is there anything new on the horizon? Any new technology, or I know mobile phone alerts is pretty much, I guess, the quickest way to do that. But are we looking at anything?
So over the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, we've spent a ton of our investment capital to get to a point where we're at a standard with technology, if not above, for the fire service. We've moved to a new CAD provider, which is the computer software that we utilize to alert ourselves about calls via text message, via a custom-built phone app for the department, and to track people's response and training. So we actually have a fully built software package that allows us to track each member's responses, the alarms they respond to, which came in handy during the COVID protocol season, the trainings they've accrued over the years, the ranks that they've gone through, what they're qualified on, what they're not. And that's been a great help. We've also, in the last 2 years, we purchased for the first time electric extrication tools. So in the old school extrication hearse tools that we all use, the Jaws of Life.
Jaws of Life, sure.
Correct. The commonly known name is Jaws of Life. They were always powered by a hydraulic line that was powered by a portable pump with a pull cord, or by a pump that was sitting on a fire truck. So what we went to now are actually tools that are powered by Milwaukee portable batteries. We still have the hydraulic tools on the truck, but they were actually 30 years old when we replaced them. They got them back in the 80s. Wow. So we got 30 years out of them, and they just went to these electric ones to try to help subsidize.
I'm sure that's going to be a huge benefit to the community.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a big help. We're always looking to, in the last 5 years, we've put a big emphasis on grant proposals and projects, and we've actually gotten a lot of money granted to us through FEMA and through the state for recruitment and retention, which helped us build our Facebook footprint that we have today. I think we have over 5,000 followers in a town of 3,500 houses. That's great. It also helped us provide some capital to upgrade our breathing cylinders for when we do have house fires, as well as all of our portable radios were just upgraded in the last 3 years. Wow, so yeah, we've done
all
some
of that
good
is
stuff.
really amazing, and I think it's just showing that the fire department is continuing to evolve and to stay on top of all the best technology and the best safety equipment that's out there.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, and every day there's new things on the horizon, and and new standards, right? There's always, they kind of move the goalposts on you a little bit every couple of years. OSHA and PESH. We're a department that's in theory regulated by none, but in reality regulated by a lot. We fall under a lot of different federal and state level standards for training and for equipment that people probably don't actually necessarily realize, not to mention the insurance burden that's put on the department to insure a fire department.
And, outside of all the safety and what you really do, which is save lives and keep us safe, you're also an integral part of the community. And one of the things that I like most about the West Hempstead Fire Department is you guys just love to give back to the community. The Memorial Day Parade, you had a huge showing. When you did the Chabad Hanukkah lighting, you guys were there dropping candy, from the ladders, and the kids were loving it. On Passover, you were down at Echo Park, burning bread for those who needed the bread to be burned before the holidays. And on top of all of that, you have these parades. Not parades. It is a parade of the fire trucks. It's the parade on Christmas Eve and on Easter that everyone, kids of all ages, look forward to. Do you guys plan on continuing that, into the future?
I think if I tried to end it, I would probably get voted out in about a week. So yeah, no, I mean the Christmas ride and the Hanukkah ride have become, bigger than life events when it comes to the West Hempstead Fire Department. I mean, all the events down at Halls Pond that we coordinate with, Lakeview Fire Department's a big part of that as well. But other than that, the Santa ride and the Hanukkah ride have become amazing. And I mean, we do that on Christmas Eve, and we still get a turnout of 30-plus members for that ride. When people have their families sitting in their home waiting to eat dinner, I mean, that ride is amazing. And the Hanukkah ride, everybody enjoys. Yeah. Kosher, non-kosher, every member of our department loves that ride. They go down there, and all they do is eat the potato pancakes down there. So that's what they love, the latkes.
That's great. Who doesn't like a latke? And of course, the question that's on everyone's mind is, who plays Santa?
It's usually the first person there that's willing to do it. And then once 30 more people show up, everybody fights over who's going to do it.
Wow, that's great. Andy, this has been a tremendous interview. If people are interested in donating and also of donating both their money and of their time, what should they be doing?
Yeah, so our annual fund drive is actually just going in the mail the first week of July this year. That's always the easiest way for a house to give a donation if they choose to. We also obviously welcome anybody at the doors at any time. We have an email address for anybody looking to contact us, which is chiefs@westhempsteadfd.org, where they could reach out with any kind of general questions as well as any interest in applying to actually volunteer.
Great. Well, Andy, thank you so much for your time. Again, we really appreciate all that you and your department do, and we look forward to inviting you back and telling us about all the exciting things that are going on in the community.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you'd like to sponsor this or any of our other shows, once again, reach out to us at sales@westhempsteadecho.com.